Hey everyone, excited to be back for this week's edition of Frequently Asked Questions for Commercial Real Estate. In today's video, what I thought I'd do is I'd address a question that I got recently actually from a client that I have that is going through the process of buying their first commercial property. And that is, what are some of the top things to consider as you go through the process of acquiring that particular property? Well, what I thought I'd do in this video is share the top 3 things to consider as you go through the process of acquiring a commercial property. Now, this is not a comprehensive video that's going to tell you all the different things that you need to consider, but these are probably one of the top 3 things you need to consider. And if you're working with a commercial real estate agent, they'll be able to fill in the gaps as you go along the process of actually purchasing a property. So, to start off, number 1 thing to consider is to do a financial audit. Now this video will be primarily focused on the investment side of commercial real estate. So a financial audit is an absolute must. What I mean by a financial audit is to review the rent rolls, the trailing 12s, P&L statements, really any financial data that's provided to you by the seller. Now, this can be kind of dicey at times, in particular if the seller hasn't been as diligent about maintaining good financial records, and that's sometimes the case with mom and pop operations. However, what you need to do is really work with your commercial real estate agent to dig in and try to extract as much financial data as you possibly can so that you guys can model it out and determine whether the price they're asking for the property is actually valid given the performance of that particular property type. So, number 1 is to perform a financial audit. That means compiling all the data, including potentially rent rolls, trailing 12s, P&L statements, any maintenance contracts they have, really anything related to the financial performance of that particular property. So, number 2 thing to consider is to perform a property inspection or determine what the condition of the property is prior to actually pulling the trigger and purchasing it. Now, this is extremely important because there's a lot of items within a building that can really be a big ticket item. So, for example, the roof can be quite expensive to replace. You got the HVAC system in particular, if it's a larger building, can be quite expensive. If it's a larger building, you may have an elevator in the building. Those things are extremely expensive to replace. AC units, water heaters, you name it, various different things within the building are going to be quite costly to be able to replace. Not only that, but general deferred maintenance. A lot of times what you have to do is repave and restripe the parking lot every few years. In particular, if it's, let's say, a retail complex, or maybe it's an apartment building that has dedicated parking, that's something you need to consider. You have general maintenance of the building, for example, the fascia, whatever you can imagine about a property's condition is going to cost you something over the period of time. And whenever you're performing your financial analysis, you should factor in some repairs and maintenance into your particular analysis. You should factor in some capital expenditures. What capital expenditures is if something major like an HVAC system or the roof goes out or something like that. Those are considered capital expenditures. One large lump of money to be able to account for one of these things that go bad. So, when you're performing this analysis, do property inspection. Go through each and every single unit. So if you own a shopping center, go into each individual store. If you own an apartment complex, go into each individual unit. If you're looking to buy a hotel, go into each individual room and analyze everything within that property to make sure that the condition is exactly what you're looking for. And if it's not, then you need to work with your commercial real estate agent to provide a counter to reduce the price in order to account what the price should be given this particular condition. So number 2 is to conduct a property condition assessment. And then finally, number 3 thing to consider, which I think is one of the most important things to look at, is the demographics or conducting a market survey of the area. Now, I think this is extremely important is because the demographics of an area are going to support or not support your particular use. So, for example, let's say you buy a retail shopping center and the stores within that center include maybe a designer shoe store, luxury hair salon. The uses within that center are tailored towards a more affluent demographic. If that center is located in an area where there's not a very strong demographic as it pertains to the financial health of people in the area, that's going to be a problem for the tenants in that center. And most likely they're not going to be able to sustain themselves over a long period of time, which will be bad for you as an investor who's going to buy that particular property. Number 2 is, let's say you're buying an apartment building, right? And in order for you to justify the purchase of this building, you have to achieve a certain rent from these particular units. However, if the affluence of that area cannot support that type of rent being charged, then that's going to be a problem for you as an investor, and you're going to have to readjust the amount you're willing to offer given that reality. So, when you're looking at an area, work with your commercial real estate agent to do a complete market analysis to look, what are the demographics of the area, what's the average household income. If you're looking at retail properties, look at what the traffic counts are. What are some of the retail locations nearby that can help or hurt the property that you're actually looking to purchase, because all those pieces of information are going to be crucial to you making a good decision for your next investment property. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like the channel, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. If you're looking to buy retail investments, multifamily investments, industrial investments, you name it, and you're looking in the Louisville metro area, I'd be happy to help you do so. My number is 502-536-7315, or you can reach me via email at Raphael@grisantigroup.com. All right, well, we'll see you guys next week. See ya.